Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Hello, welcome to Vamos a Estudiar. Let's study. Today we are going to proceed towards a sixth part of our topic, which is related to identification test for aldehydes and ketonic groups. As you know that functional groups are those atoms, or it might be a group of atoms, or the presence of double or triple bond, which give characteristic properties to organic compounds. Different compounds, they have same functional groups, and due to the presence of that same functional groups, they are having similar chemical properties and classified as the same family. Compounds having different functional groups have different properties and belong to different families of compounds. Test for aldehydic and ketonic groups. As you know that both aldehydes and ketone groups have carbonyl group in common. So that carbonyl group is actually, in case of aldehyde, the carbonyl group is there, along with that H is present on one side. But in case of ketones, the carbonyl group is there, and on both sides you are having the alkyl group. So this carbonyl group in aldehydes and ketones can be identified either by using 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine test or by using sodium bisulfite test. But the major difference between aldehyde and ketone lies in the way of oxidation. Aldehyde get oxidized into carboxylic acid while ketones fails to do so. So the difference is basically and the further tests are basically which used to distinguish aldehydes and ketones are Schiff's test, Fehling solution test, and silver mirror test. Okay, Ji. In 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine test, what we have to notice is we can either use a 0.5 ml or 0.5 gram of given organic compound, which is to be tested, and put them into a clean dry test tube. Then we have to add a rectified spirit until the compound just dissolved, because we are not using water over here, because this is an organic solvent and it is insoluble in water. That's why we are using some organic solvent for this purpose. Now we have to add a testing material, which is 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine solution. And we cock the test tubes and shake it well and for the thorough mixing, and allow it for the stand for 5 minutes. What we see and what is the reaction over here is acetaldehyde 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine, which is the testing material, and 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazone get prepared. In the same way, we are having that acetone treated with 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine, and we will get acetone 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazone, which is orange red color precipitate. Okay, second most important test is sodium bisulfite test, which is used to test the presence of carbonyl group. Over here, what you do is that you have to take 2 ml of saturated solution of sodium bisulfite in a clean test tube, and then you have to add 1 gram of given organic compound. Cork the test tube and shake it well for 15 to 20 minutes. Formation of crystalline white crystals mostly. Precipitate confirm the presence of carbonyl group over here. Okay, one point which is very important over here is these two tests. First is 2,4-dinitrophenyl hydrazine, and sodium bisulfite test is specifically used for the identification of carbonyl groups. And we are not use it thoroughly to distinguish between aldehydes and ketone, because the problem is that the formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, benzaldehyde, and even some ketones, which are the smaller ketones, that might be dimethyl ketone, methyl ethyl ketone, and even the diethyl ketone, they give this test positive. It means that both smaller aldehydes and smaller ketones, they both are very responsive towards this test. So we are not recommendable to use this test in order to distinguish them, because if dimethyl ketone is there and we want and formaldehyde is there, then the test is positive in both of these cases. So aqueous solution of formaldehydes and acetaldehyde form additional products, but they are highly soluble precipitates and are rarely formed. Thirdly option is that acetophenone and benzophenone do not give this test. So this is not recommendable either, because we are in the point of not confirmation. The test which is you can say highly recommendable test for aldehydes are Schiff test. What you do is that you have to dissolve 0.5 ml, or you can say in grams, 0.5 grams of given organic compound, means which is to be tested, is taken in alcohols in a clean test tube, and you have to add a shift reagent is about 1 ml. You have to shake it and you have to notice the change in the color. As in the figure, you have already seen the color changes into pink, red or magenta shades confirm the presence of aldehyde group. And if it doesn't give you this color, it means that that functional group is not present. If the color changes to these, it's a positive test and that shows the presence of aldehyde group. So certain amendments or certain points is very important over here is the shift reagent should not be warmed. The shift reagent should not be treated with alkalis, otherwise the pink color develops even in the absence of aldehydes. Thirdly, when benzaldehyde, the pink color develops slowly. So this first test is specifically for aldehydes. Then second identification test for aldehyde is silver mirror test. And silver mirror test for reagents of 4 things are important. One is the silver nitrate solution, and another is NaOH solution. Thirdly is the ammonia solution, and the last one is the given organic compound. But the sequence of addition is very important. Firstly, you have to place 1 ml of silver nitrate solution in a clean test tube, and then you have to alkaline it by using the sodium hydroxide solution. By doing so, a brown precipitate forms, and then you have to add a few drops of ammonia solution in it until the brown color disappears, and then you have to add finally the given organic compound. But best results are that you have to add it in the solid form, not in the solution form, and then you have to warm it for roundabout for 5 or less than 5 minutes, and then you notice presence of silver coating on the end of the test tubes. A shining mirror confirms that the presence of aldehyde group, and this is one of the best tests for aldehydes. But certain points should be considered in your mind that many other types of compound give positive silver mirror test, but they do not give 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazine test. Secondly, formic acid, tartaric acid and many carbohydrates like glucose, they are giving this positive test because they are having that aldehydic part in them in case of glucose. So okay, third most important test for aldehyde is Fehling solution test. And what you do is an aldehyde test is you have to take 1 ml of Fehling solution A, Fehling solution B, add few drops of given organic compound, and you have to warm it. And the red precipitate, if red precipitate appears, that is the positive test for aldehyde. And certain point is to be noted that benzaldehyde and formic acid also give this test, but the reaction is very slow for them. Now the specific test for ketones that is given by ketones but not by aldehydes are dinitrobenzene test, and in which you have to take 0.5 ml of given liquid, or you can take it in grams, around about 0.5 grams in a clean test tube, and you have to add finely powdered dinitrobenzene, meta-dinitrobenzene. Now add 1 ml of dilute sodium hydroxide solution, and you have to shake it well. Appearance of violet color will slowly fades confirm ketonic group, and benzophenone does not give this test. This is specification because benzophenone still having a ketonic group, but it is not reliable and it is not recommendable, or it's a negative test for benzophenone. Another important test is which is specifically used for ketones is sodium nitroprusside test. The procedure for this test is that you have to take the crystals of sodium nitroprusside in distilled water, and you have to add 0.5 ml or 0.5 gram of the given organic compound which is to be tested, and you have to add sodium hydroxide dropwise. Red coloration indicates the presence of ketonic group, and some problem is there because you know that sodium nitroprusside is giving a red color, and this test is specifically for ketones, but the problem is that benzophenone does not give this test, and The another important, or the you can say a negative feature of this test is that benzaldehyde specifically give this red color. So overall, when I'm talking about the distinguishes test for aldehydes and ketones, so you can go simply for Fallon solution silver mirror test, and for this you are going to use that sodium nitroprusside test in order to distinguish them. But obviously some problems are there, some give this test and some not, but overall these tests are specifically used for aldehydes and ketones. We are inshallah coming up with the new continuity of that, which we are discussing about the identification test for amines and phenols and carboxylic acids and so on. So till then, Allah Hafiz from my side.